Mhleli is not the only one benefiting from the World Cup build-up. Some have traveled from the countryside to make the most of this opportunity.
We are 4 of us. I think that's a job opportunity, because those people, at the end of the day, they've got something for their family and their kids as well. No matter how little it is, but they've got something.
So tell me what you plans. With the success of his business, Mhleli has been able to pay for his daughter's college studies. He says he is aware that the World Cup is not long-term, and now he has big plans for the future.
This is going to be a mini shop whereby I'm going to save everything which the community they need, especially sugars and teas and paraffin, including the public food.
The World Cup has been criticized for benefiting only big business. But with entrepreneurs like Mhleli, there's renewed hope for ordinary South Africans. Whether the football festival will leave a lasting legacy for this generation remains to be seen.
Now here in South Africa, the government admits that there has been a bit of an economic downturn. But regardless of that, South Africa remains the continent's most powerful and influential economy. Contrast that with what's happening across the border in Zimbabwe. When you think of Zimbabwe, you think of a country in turmoil. You think of economic meltdown. The government there has been traversing the globe trying to convince the international community that Zimbabwe is ready for business again. Egon Kosu has been speaking to Welshman Nkube, who's the Minister of Industry in Zimbabwe, and he admits that returning investor confidence to what it was before the crisis in the country is going to be a major challenge.
It takes time to build a brand. Zimbabwe to build a brand of a lawless state, violence, expropriation of property, and that's what immediately comes to a person's mind. And we realize that it will take time, which is why we're not only just engaging the international community, engaging the business community, demonstrating the changes that we've brought into place, but we are also working around the clock to actually construct a new brand. As a result of that, you have money beginning to come into the country. The supermarkets, the retail sector is now up to 80–90% capacity utilization. The manufacturing sector is beginning to get the raw materials. They are manufacturing things they had not manufactured for the last 2–3 years. They are beginning to manufacture them, putting them back into the market.
You have a government that calls itself inclusive, but many of the levers of state still remain in the hands of the old guard, which leaves the reformers, people predominantly in the MDC, Movement for Democratic Change, with only a limited amount of power to turn things around in Zimbabwe.
In fact, unfortunately, that's one of those perceptions which is regrettably not correct. It's not, in fact, true that the levers of power have remained with Mugabe or with the old guard. The system which operates in Zimbabwe is that decisions are made collectively at cabinet. And it is cabinet, even the smallest of things, who to give a particular contract to, you have to come to cabinet for approval.
So in terms of reassuring Western investors, what can you say to them?
What we are saying, and what we will continue to say, is that we have introduced new policies, we have introduced new laws in terms of the economy in the country. It is all there for everyone to see. We have liberalized the economy, done away with exchange controls in the country. You can put your money wherever you want to put it, you bring it into Zimbabwe, take it out as you wish. The only thing we ask of anyone is keep proper records, report your profits correctly, pay your VAT tax, pay your corporate tax to the government. That is all we need.
Now, obviously China, Russia, a lot of big investors have been particularly interested in the resources that Africa has to offer. Is that a piece of the cake you're particularly interested in getting hold of?
Well, we are saying at the moment, the one thing which is primary are the interests of Zimbabwe. And we are saying any investor who wants to come in Zimbabwe, whether they are from the west, the east, north, south, it doesn't matter. We will look at each agreement, we will negotiate each agreement, as long as we are able to protect our national interest. We would not care whether this dollar is emanated from Beijing, from Moscow, from New York, Washington, or London.
The internet, text messaging, social networking seems like a distant memory when mobile phones were used just for making telephone calls. But now, in Kenya, mobile technology may be paving the way towards a cashless society. Will Ross has this report from Nairobi.
There are about 10,000 of these M-Pesa outlets across Kenya, and as they've been growing, the use of the wallet is becoming less and less necessary. As long as you've got one of these, a mobile phone, more and more businesses are accepting payments via mobile phone, and I'm just going to put some money onto my phone now and see how many businesses we can deal with today. Afternoon. Can I please deposit this money onto my M-Pesa?
Yeah.
Okay, one new message from M-Pesa. Then we open that, and it says, confirmed, give Kenya shillings 500 cash, and then it says my balance is 1,500. So there we go. I've now got my phone loaded up with M-Pesa money, and we can go out around Kenya and find out who's going to accept it. Well, it seems we don't have to walk too far. I'm feeling a bit peckish. Beef samosas, 30 shillings each. I haven't got any cash. Can I buy them with M-Pesa?
Yes, you may.
Great. Can I have 4 samosas, please? And then I put 150 shillings. Enter my PIN, not for the camera. And
Not for me either.
not for you either. Send money to OK. Right. The money for these samosas should be on its way to your phone now. Message received your side too. Perfect. OK. First transaction of the day, 4 beef samosas. A decade ago, there were just 15,000 handsets in Kenya. Today, there are 15 million of them, and Kenyans often appear glued to their mobiles. Many Kenyans are put off the banks by the relatively high transaction fees. When Safaricom, the leading mobile network provider, launched M-Pesa, enabling people to transfer money from one phone to another, Kenyans were in effect given electronic wallets. Tell me, what do you use M-Pesa for?
Basically just to send money to my parents because they live a bit far.
For paying my client or receiving from my client. I'm a businessman, and it has been very focal to me because I deal with people outside Nairobi, very far.
I don't need to go to the bank to get money. If I'm stuck somewhere, someone can send me some 100 shillings, which is not done in banks. Banks deal with over 1,000 shillings.
2 years since the launch of M-Pesa, or mobile money, other networks are trying now to catch up, but Safaricom dominates the market.
We've got over 7 million customers that have registered for M-Pesa, and they are sending very small transactions. Our average transaction value is actually less than $40. This is the kind of customer we are addressing. But in total, on a daily basis, we are actually moving in excess of $8.5 million per day. The types of transactions are seemingly limitless thanks to the ingenuity of Kenyans. There are stories of men paying bride price or dowry via mobile phone, and reports that some police have even accepted electronic bribes. Still armed with my mobile, time to head out of the capital into Kenya's Great Rift Valley, to a place without power. No banks here. One's wealth is judged by head of cattle. But even here, we're very much still in mobile phone land. This is not necessarily just an urban phenomenon. Out here in Maasai land, people coming to buy and sell livestock. They don't need cash, as long as they've got a mobile phone in their pocket. Cash may be the king for now, but security is an issue out here. David Sekento Tate tells me when he sells a cow in Nairobi, he puts the money on his phone to ensure the robbers can't get his cash. Asante.
Well, the end of a busy day, and back in Nairobi, time for a cool beer. But we can remain walletless. You still don't need to hand over cash in this bar. 170 shillings, and I'm going to send this from my phone to the bar manager's account. 170, and here's the number in there, and that should be winging its way to the barman. No cash needed, and I can carry on with my beer. Cheers.
And that concludes this edition of Africa Business Report. You can find out more on the stories that we covered in this program by visiting our website, bbc.com/Africa Business Report. That's bbc.com/Africa Business Report. Until next time, from me, Komla Dumont in Johannesburg, South Africa, goodbye.
Mhleli is not the only one benefiting from the World Cup build-up. Some have traveled from the countryside to make the most of this opportunity.
We are 4 of us. That I think that's a job opportunity, because those people at the end.
But with entrepreneurs like Mhleli, there's renewed hope for ordinary South Africans. Whether the football festival will leave a lasting legacy for this generation remains to be seen.
Now, here in South Africa, the government admits that there has been a bit of an economic downturn, but regardless of that,
and now he has big plans for the future.
This is going to be a mini shop whereby I'm going to save everything which the community they need, especially sugars and teas and paraffin, including the public food.
The World Cup has been criticized for benefiting only big business.
Of the day, they've got something for their family and their kids as well. No matter how little it is, but they've got something.
So tell me what your plans. With the success of his business, Mhleli has been able to pay for his daughter's college studies. He says he is aware that the World Cup is not long-term.
South Africa remains the continent's most powerful and influential economy. Contrast that with what's happening across the border in Zimbabwe. When you think of Zimbabwe, you think of a country in turmoil, you think of economic meltdown. The government there has been traversing the globe trying to convince the international community that Zimbabwe is ready for business again. Egon Kosu